All right. So this is
Good to see you,
our
Raj.
good to see you too, Aaron, man. So this is our first podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode
Yep.
one. We are calling this introducing the podcast. Oh wow. This thing is auto framing me. I think I should
Yes.
probably turn off
It's
this.
kind of perfect. It worked really nicely. It
But what
was
if I
there's
want the
a specific.
guitar?
Oh, good point. All right. Sure.
Nope. It needs to go.
All right.
Why do you think these things don't like the guitar? Anyway, so let's talk about how the podcast even came into play.
Yes. So beyond Fenway, guitar talks.
Yeah.
Do you want to say how we met before becoming roommates, but we were roommates back in college for it was my fifth and sixth semester at Berklee, junior year for
Yeah, yeah, for
people
a whole
not,
year.
yeah, Berkeley oriented. Um, Spent a lot of time hanging out with a lot of very different guitar players
Yeah,
and a
man.
lot of very similar guitar players at the same time. And uh, since then, you and I have been up to very different things, bouncing around, getting through some stuff, and like wanted to connect again because we're both still playing solo guitar, in
Yeah,
one way or another.
exactly. We're primarily focusing on solo guitar, but also in slightly different ways. Like, as in, I feel like it's just something that I have noticed and observed. Uh, No, I won't say in just Berklee graduates, but in general, in musicians who end up studying music, that even though the language that they're learning is similar, somehow the output can be vastly different, you know, if that's making sense. Like for instance, let's take two names, Joe Pass and Kurt Rosenwinkel, right?
Yeah,
They're both
yeah,
quite literally coming from the same language, but they sound completely different. I mean, there is definitely like a difference in timeline as well in their existence, but they sound so different from each other. And I think like that similar difference is what you and I also have as solo guitar players.
yeah.
Though you are more into classical music, you can sight read very well. I can't. I am horrible at sight reading. I can just read
Topics for
enough to
another
get by.
day.
Yeah,
The site thing, yeah. But
yeah.
it's funny because yeah, we both do kind of end up playing solo guitar in a way that crosses paths, like the artists that you mentioned. But then, like as you said, yeah, a lot of what I got to um, came about through the beginning to get really interested in trying to play classical guitar as a high schooler.
Right.
Um, I didn't really have access to a lot of that stuff until the very end of high school, and that's when I started, and I kept that through Berkeley all the way. But it just kind
Right.
of piled on to, yeah, yeah. But I never committed to that genre, thankfully.
I get what you mean. I think
Yeah,
um,
no, thank.
while for some people that's like that's what they're born to do, I guess, or like that's what they really want to do. But at least even for me, I totally resonate with you over there. Where like regardless of how much I love jazz, I like other stuff too, you know. Like I still
Hmm.
like playing pop, man. Like, you know, I,
And
I
I'm
won't
gonna,
put out too many videos of that.
right,
You know,
sure, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But then, yeah, man, like that's like a guilty pleasure, man. Like sometimes, I just like playing country roads. I drop my pick and I can't find it.
I straight up didn't even
I
come
know.
up here with a pick. I'm gonna go all fingerstyle for now, so I've already made my excuses
Oh,
though
okay.
about
Okay.
not being up to snuff on the practicing. Yeah.
Like, you know how sometimes you just feel like
Oh yes,
I
yeah.
just really enjoy that sometimes.
The
I would love to see how we play that with an eight string.
Yeah, stuff like that.
on an eight string.
The flat picking, that's what I was trying with a nail. It's not a good idea. But
I'm still trying to get over the fact that you're playing an eight string. I mean, I have known you well enough to know that you're a fairly open-minded guy. But at the same time, throughout college life, I have only seen you play classical guitar. I've seen you play a
uh,
Strat, and I had
uh,
seen you play that Ibanez maybe twice.
yeah, I tried to use that on like a rating audition and just fell right on my face with that metaphorically. That was
Like I
not at
love
all.
Ibanez's, but somehow I feel Ibanez's don't like me, you know. But I love Ibanez.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how this podcast came about.
And that's how this podcast came out. Like
We're still
literally, I
doing
think,
this. Yeah, we're still like finding all the new things to add to it. But I think that's kind of the nice thing is like it's just a solo
yeah,
guitar. Keeps
and
going.
that's what I think we were like just sort of talking the other day. Like I had called you regarding just playing in Japan and life in Japan as a musician, and
Mm.
uh, eventually we ended up talking about starting a podcast,
Yes, yeah.
which
And I
was
liked
pretty
how we
cool.
kind of pushed it to because it was that like that melding of like where like where we cross paths as far as our solo guitar like playing, but the fact that
Yeah,
we really do come from wildly different like interests, like the things that we wanted to play when we were kids were different, but how we found our way to jazz-ish stuff was very different. Kind of even the way we still look at playing the guitar,
yeah,
because I've taken like a very like I can teach people. I'll always, but well, you also teach, but like it's yeah, and we still, yeah, we're always parallel, but not exactly on the same path. It's very interesting.
exactly.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
primarily speaking, from what I remember, you were always pretty, like not pretty, like really good at sight reading, man. That's one. Number two was you also had a lot to do with composition.
yeah,
Like I remember you were pretty good with tonal harmony. I was pretty bad with that because I was always trying to see tonal harmony from the perspective of harmony. But it's
uh,
always the inversions that used to just like, bite me back.
yeah.
There was
I
also
think
other thing, especially when
that's
it
an
comes to three-part and four-part writing, right?
yeah,
It's like I can see how it's similar to what I'm trying to do here. Like with like at that point I was more into blues and rock and roll and a little bit of R&B. I don't think I was that much of a jazz player. Like now I think I have more influence of jazz, but I didn't have so much of influence back then. But then I could still understand what they're trying to do. It's just that those terminologies, which were more from the European side of the world, right,
mm.
is what was really throwing me off. But you were really good at that, you know,
Yeah. I mean, this is a nice segue into like philosophies on solo guitar because mine
which
is
is the next topic of this podcast.
yeah. I think we
Our
gotta
philosophies
yeah,
of guitar playing, solo guitar playing. You go
yeah,
ahead, go
because it
ahead.
does.
You continue.
That is very much where like mine started out with, right? I didn't have many people growing up that was playing the same things with. Like, not a lot of bands were my bands. I stuck with the school stuff.
Right.
And, um, oh no, I'm a computer fan. All right, we're good. But like, so reading, I had to do that. I had to get pretty good at it. I had to, find ways to do it. And then I started to be interested in, this classical guitar sound kind of thing. And then it suddenly became, but this is. I always thought it was interesting how much music there is out there, and how when I was learning parts for songs played by other people in the same band, whether it was the big bands in high school or other like rock bands that I would have to find a way to play the part of two guitar players, and because it was only me doing the guitar or something like
Right.
that. I was always fascinated with trying to put them together on the guitar. And then, when I got to really study harmony in college, were like super eye-opening as far as the composition comes in. And that's still always been my thing, where it's like, if I can find more stuff to put on the instrument in some way, and make the instrument more like the orchestra, more like the piano or the organ that's doing all the parts at once, and control all of those parts at once. As far as solo guitar goes, that's what I like to do. And that's not just compositional. Like, if I can improvise with all of that care and specificity too, I will. And I have done. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Mine is on a similar note as well, like as in like trying to bring in bass lines, trying to bring in inner movements. Like the way I'm seeing an arrangement, I think is pretty similar to the way you're seeing an arrangement, even though like the listening and the type of music we're both listening to is vastly different, like in a general sense, I'm saying. Right? But then, like, I'm trying to see it in a similar way where rather than just seeing it as like a set of harmonic movements and a set of melodic movements, I'm also just trying to see it as like a whole arrangement, right?
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that is what really got me into the whole solo jazz guitar playing, and then eventually pushed me out of it at the same time. Like,
Yeah, because it
yeah,
does. Once you do your first like Wes Montgomery chord melody, you start to
yeah,
go, well, that's great. And then you listen to the recording, and I'm not bagging Wes at all, because I still transcribe his. I mean, you get the bug and you want to know more about how to play like Wes.
right.
But maybe that wasn't like his super thing, right? He had a harmony that accompanied a melody, and that really comes through. But then, like, oh, what if you're adding more parts to that, and you want some of those inner bits to really work together? You gotta do, yeah, what you're describing, thinking about it in bigger
But
bigger
there
ways.
was like there is one thing that you were much better at than I am, and I ever was. That is having an attention span. I've always had like a horrible attention span, which is why whenever it came to composition, because if you remember, I was a like contemporary writing and production major for one semester, right? And man, that semester was freaking hell for me. Like, because when it comes to composition for me, right? It's
Yeah.
like maybe because I was just so much into guys like Holsworth or like guys like Ted Green, etc. That whole like I had like constant change in my head, if that makes sense. And oftentimes, let's say if I come up with an idea, in the
Yeah.
next 10 seconds, I would forget that, you know. Like
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the
yeah.
time I take out the laptop, I plug in my interface, etc. It's gone.
Yeah.
Absolutely gone. You know,
That's one of the places where I think our philosophies,
start to
maybe
degrade
not
over there.
a little bit, yeah, because I'm one of those people that, like, when thinking about solo
Like
guitar,
I
I
would
never.
say deviate, yes, but also not. Because at the end of the day, like because of this particular lack of attention span in my
Yeah.
mind, I have just always been drawn more towards like improvisation. But at the same time, like as I kept working on it and as I keep working on it, you just can't like discard the fact that improvisation is composition at the end of
Yes.
the day.
Yeah.
In order to work on improvisation, I still have to look into compositional ideas, right?
Yes.
It's like the only difference is like maybe a composer is meticulously working on a piece of music for a longer time compared to me, you know
Yeah.
and I am working more on vocabulary, so that
Yeah.
in different moments of my performances or different moments of my life, I bring that vocabulary in and see how that sounds in that particular moment or over a certain harmonic movement.
And I think that's super important, because, like, it's not just vocabulary if you're doing the improvisation or composition. You need vocabulary for both of those things. It's not just the attention span to create a composition, but it's also like, because so many people, and we all both very well known people who can play some incredibly technical things on the guitar, both improvisationally and not. And, for example, did not drop enough attention to their tone, whatever that looks like. You know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
I got that from really digging into the classical stuff,
Like
because
by tone, you're talking about like the hands, like the tone of your hands.
not just that though, because I've heard classical musicians who forever talk about that, plug them into an electric guitar with a cheap distortion pedal, and for the life of them can't make it sound like anything but plastic,
Right.
and like that's not okay. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
that
it's
that
okay
has
to
more to do with the touch,
experiment.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's the touch, there's the gear that you're working with too. I think
For sure.
not that, everyone needs to be an absolute gearhead, because that's just not the way I'm going to look at it either. But, you know, as far as what you pay attention to, there should always be a balance in there. You should always be willing to say, well, okay, I am, and this is probably where my philosophy really sits with solo guitar. I love how it's always the learning experience. There's always a deeper level to whatever you happen to be working on at any point in time that will bring you something wonderful,
Right.
right? And it is an abject failure, of whatever you happen to be working on at the moment. Cool, you can play that thing really wonderfully. Does it sound good? Cool, you can play it and it sounds good acoustically. What if you go and try to record it? Do you know what it's going to take to record that or play it live in some dingy dive bar somewhere, or jazz club, whatever, open mic, gig, corporate gig, whatever you're going to play, yeah. As far as like what it's a personal growth thing. I think that's my favorite part about the solo
Definitely.
guitar stuff.
And like this is where again like my path becomes different as well. It's like for me, I didn't grow up with musicians around me either. But I did grow up with a lot of friends whose family, along with like my friends, were listening to a lot of non-Indian music along with Indian music. Like my journey into music obviously started with listening to Bollywood music, listening to radio, etc. But eventually, most of my friends that I was hanging out with in school, they were listening to bands like Lynyrd Skynyrd or who's that flute player? Ian Anderson. He was from Jethro, right? Jethro, and then Eagles, Metallica, all of these, right? So I grew up listening to that kind of music, and eventually I ended up learning from like a really well-known guitar legend in my city, and he got me into like Mahavishnu Orchestra. He told me about Wes Montgomery, Joe Pass, etc. I would say I was still like pretty stupid at the time to really understand that stuff, but the Mahavishnu Orchestra stuff like actually made me discover Aldo Meola and Paco de Lucia as well. Do you know that
Mm.
really famous tune, Mediterranean Sundance? Like everybody,
Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna like
that trio.
like,
Exactly. It was McLaughlin, Aldo Meola, and Paco de Lucia. That's where I'm like, okay, all
yeah, that
right.
Wonder Trio or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, whatever, whatever. And then, like, from there, I went to Berkeley and everything. In Boston, I've mostly either played wedding bands or like local pub gigs, not too much of jazz, I would say. But I have always been fascinated about the idea of picking up an instrument and playing in that moment and like sort of creating a storyline in that moment, and whatever comes out, that's it. Right. And I remember at Berkeley, you and I both know about free jazz. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I loved going to see the Fringe. Like those were some of my like, because they would go between what was a tune and what wasn't, and I learned so much from that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a little dicey as well, that whole vibe. But either way, like the whole free jazz thing, also introduced me to the term improviser. I didn't know like there was something called an improviser
Yeah.
until I started understanding that there can be music which is completely improvised. Like, I mean, being an Indian, of course, North Indian music, like Hindustani music, as well as, I mean, Indian classical music in general, is heavily improvised. Even though it's
Mhm.
based around a lot of frameworks similar to jazz, it's still not exactly the same because, like, Indian music, majority of it, I believe, and if somebody is watching and they think I'm wrong, you can comment on will correct me. But I feel it's mostly monophonic, whereas jazz can be polyphonic, right? And like many other styles of improvised music or composition is mostly polyphonic. So I
Yeah.
was like, why do I need to stick to either Hindustani classical or jazz or Balkan music or whatever if I want to be an improviser? Why can't I take things from here, there, etc.? And that,
Clarify what you meant by monophonic, sorry, and polyphonic in like the.
when I say monophonic, I mean that if you listen to traditional Indian music, there's usually a drone, and then there's a
Yeah.
percussion, and then
Mhm.
there's the soloist.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's mostly monophonic because even when you're learning Indian classical music, like I had learned it many years ago, just a little bit, and
Yeah.
I was never ever taught about harmony in the like the way we see harmony in jazz or in Western
Yeah.
classical music. I was never taught about that. I was only taught about melodic movements. Right.
Yep.
Like in Indian music, we don't particularly have scales. We have like thats, which are like certain number of basic scales, and based on those scales, you have rags. These rags are essentially like your melodic framework, right? A rag
Yeah.
will have a specific ascending pattern and a specific descending pattern,
Yeah.
sort of similar to the traditional melodic minor scale, the way we are learned,
Mhm.
where you ascend as a melodic minor and you descend as an Aeolian, right?
Yeah.
So similar concept, but I would say a lot deeper, considering the fact that it's not necessary that if you're ascending with seven notes, you descend with seven notes as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'll give you one example of that. Let's say I'm in D here. Um, one um, it's called Yaman, right? That's like one of the first rags you learn, and it
Mhm.
starts with. So it doesn't even start on the root. It starts on the seven. So it's seven, the two, four, sorry, three, sharp four, six, seven, and root. And then the descending pattern is just a Lydian scale, right? And the syllables that we're following is ni re ga ma da ni sa sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. So that's like your ascending and descending pattern. And then you have certain, you know how in jazz we got melodic cells, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
certain melodic cells here as well. Like I remember when I was taught this, I only remember maybe two or three of them. The first one was ni re ga re sa. So it's like ti re do re, so ti re mi re do.
Mhm.
Right. And then like another one was Ma da ni da pa. Like that's like do re mi fa. Fi la ti la so fi la ti la so. So that's like
Mhm.
these are sort of your melodic cells. And then how you end up creating music with that in the moment is like another thing. And like there is another dimension to this, which is the ornamentation, which I will not talk about because I know literally nothing about that.
One of my biggest regrets is not following through with that audition
For the
that I
Indian
was,
ensemble.
yeah, with the Indian ensemble, because some people were going to help me out with that, and I should have just done, I should have
I mean,
worked at
honestly,
it, learned it.
you are better off learning that from somebody who performs that way because Indian classical music is more of a verbal tradition.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I would have like really picked up a lot of that knowledge or anything. It's just, yeah,
Right.
it would have been, yeah, I would have been more exposed to it because you might remember back at Berkeley, I was getting re as much as I reasonably could, get into some of that.
I
And
get
then
it.
I wish I'd learned more of the traditional stuff and like take the time to figure out the vocabulary and actually know more of it. Because, yeah,
It's
again,
same
it's one of
here,
those things where,
but at the same time, no. Like
well,
mostly because I feel more like myself when I'm not tying myself within certain boundaries. Like there
well,
are times when I feel like doing that for sure.
because there are things that like, but I mean, the more I see, this is why I like to really dig into various origins of vocabulary as well, right? Because I mean, we can talk about the Western classical tradition and its vocabulary. Its vocabulary is based on that concept of like tonality
Right.
within the oldest versions, right? The major and minor, and it had its origins from before that, which was considerably closer to monophonic, right? Organum and things like that,
Right.
and chant. But then, like, stuff like that, you may remember this. I had a composition that started with, I actually I didn't steal, uh, but I played around with an old mass chant. It's like the opening to a tune that I wrote and played on some recitals of mine.
That's pretty.
And I remember playing it for you guys, and you were like, sounds like, was it the national anthem or something of India?
I
And
mean,
I
was
was
I
like,
drunk? Possible.
maybe.
I
I
used to
don't
drink
know.
quite a
But
bit in
no,
college.
but it wasn't only you. It was the other folks we were hanging with at the time too, kind of pointed that out. And I was like,
I mean,
huh.
you were basically mostly hanging with a group that was like 70% Indians.
Yeah. So, yeah. But like I played it for
Maybe
everybody I was
maybe
hanging out
two
with.
Koreans in there, but 70% of them were Indians.
Yeah, but everybody else was like, "Oh, it sounds like the yeah, the national anthem of India." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I took it from like old, Western church music,
Right.
basically. And but but my the thing that I love technically about the solo guitar stuff, and putting it into like any source of vocabulary can be used for any of the lines that one wants to make. And this is the composer in me coming out too. And like, but you can do this when improvising too. If you can train yourself to think, right, bass is going to take on some theme from the old church music, and then my melody, if I can put it in there and I'm technically capable of doing it, I will improvise using a rag, a basic one or something like that. You're gonna end up with something that is very worth sharing in the moment. And likely the musicians you're with, if you're improvising with other people, right, will be able to do something with. And if you are improvising solo, it's enough stuff to be entertaining, to be,
Yeah.
enjoyable for either yourself or the audience or whoever cares. And then if you are only doing it for yourself, I mean, what a fun thing to practice, like it's just,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how I try to think about, make it
I think it
that.
starts like that for most people, like solo guitar playing or just playing your instrument as a solo instrument. In general, at least anybody I know, it always starts by playing for themselves.
Yeah.
It's never because I don't think anyone's gonna really hire me to just go and play a solo guitar gig just like that. I can count the number of solo guitar gigs I've played. Like majority of them were completely improvised, but some of them I was told that, hey man, don't go too much into the improv stuff, maybe just play arrangements of some Beatles tunes or like some standards, etc., these kind of things. But then
Yeah.
the gigs which were completely improvised, I remember some of these were like private gigs where, like, let's say some kind of a party is going on, some shit like that. And they just wanted some calm, meditative stuff at the back. which is the kind
Yeah.
of improv that I like. Like I feel more like myself when I'm playing more of like that meditative kind of stuff, you know.
Mick Goodrick 2.0.
Make good, you know.
Yeah, just stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Except I think Mick Goodrick's understanding of harmony is way deeper than mine. Man. One day.
I think his understanding of harmony was incredibly unique
Definitely.
and and
And
beautiful.
complex, man. Complex. Really, really complex.
Was
Can
that
you
you
hear
or
me?
me that froze? Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I feel his way of looking into harmony was unique for sure, but also ridiculously complex. You know, like you
Yeah.
really had to pay attention. Like I'm sure you're talking about like that jazz guitar almanac or something like that, right? No, what
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
name of
Between
it?
that
Oh, the
and
advancing guitarist. My bad.
that too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all of it, like all
Yeah.
of it. And I took his class too, and
I was too scared, man. I have I have checked the amps in his room many times because I was a work study, right? I used to check
oh yeah,
equipments
yeah,
when I was a student. I've been to
yeah.
his room way too many times. I've seen his EVH guitar over there as well. What a room, right? What a room. But I
There
was too scared
was
to take him.
the harmony and the rhythm. He was a big stickler on that, and so am I. If there's one thing I got from that guy, it's don't don't mess around with your rhythm.
Yeah. I
Do
feel
not
my
mess
rhythm
like
isn't as
he.
strong as I would like it to be, man. You know.
Yeah, I love how he because like that. I don't know, that goes so far. Like just being confident in your rhythm
Yeah.
and knowing it as a part of what you are playing, even when you're playing more open time, right? That doesn't. Yeah, yeah. It's an excellent way to
No, I
communicate.
totally get what you mean because even I think a lot of people try to who is that professor at Berkeley who teaches this improv class, very well known improv class.
Oh, wasn't Tronzo, was it?
No, not Tronzo. Tronzo is a guitar player. This guy's not a guitar player.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like guitar specific. I
No,
thought he
no.
had some.
Tronzo has the prepared guitar lab.
Oh, yes, 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 that's right.
This is. But either way, like he
Sorry.
basically, I remember somebody had shared a story on their Instagram from Berkeley only, somebody I know from Berkeley, and the guy is like, this guy says, what was it? Wait. Rubato is God's gift to people that lack rhythm.
That's that's
Which,
harsh.
which I totally get because I think I have had enough students and I know enough people who really try to go the rubato like route to essentially not work on rhythm on solo guitar because it can be pretty hard to do that. You know, like let's say
Sure.
you
Yeah.
take a tune that's as simple as let's say Satin Doll, right?
Yeah.
I can play it as like right,
Yeah.
but the groove is really more of like
Yeah. Well, you know what? This brings me to another aspect of the philosophy, and this might be too deep to say with only 5 minutes left. But I've
less
done a
than.
lot of reading into like because I've been teaching at a number of places for since Berkeley, since before Berkeley, but it really started at Berkeley, and then I haven't stopped since.
I mean, if you
Um,
want to make this longer, I'm game, man. Like once this is over, we just start a new recording and we put it together.
what do you think?
I'm good.
All
Let,
right. Well,
let,
I'll keep
let the
going on this
viewers hear
point.
this because we were planning to keep it to 30-35 minutes so that we don't
Yeah.
have to pay for Zoom Premium. But hey, if you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channels, consider liking the video, consider sharing the video, and hopefully one day, if you guys make us enough money, we will pay for Zoom Premium and We'll have like one long shot, recording. But for the
Oh
time
yeah.
being, let's,
Yeah, we might have to stop and
yeah,
start. But
we'll
I'm
stop
gonna
and we'll
drop
just
this.
start a new one.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop this before we move to that, just in case.
Okay,
But
good.
for a long time, I thought music and everything that I would do in music was functional. Like,
Oh, I
I
like where this
wanted
is
to be
going.
I wanted to be a professional, and it needed to make me income or something, and I had to
Right,
find the things to do with the music that would do that.
right,
Um, and I was pretty open-minded, more so than maybe a lot of people. Like I was way more open to teaching than other people were for a while, and so I kept up my own education in that regard as well. And like I stumbled upon, say stumbled upon, it was just very prominent in like the cognitive science and psychology and stuff. But Steven Pinker and his views on music, and at first it almost made me angry because no, it's not functional. Music is not, right? And because there are so many different ways, right? People look at music, right? And they're the non-professionals who have their own way. There are people who claim not to like music, in the world.
right.
And I was like, but how? No, what do you mean? And but he's right because he's really, really smart and has done more research in his life than oh my goodness, like,
Yeah,
but it can be functional from a professional's viewpoint. The thing that I got from Steven Pinker is that like music, because it will always be something new for everybody.
right.
And I know this is like solo guitar, and it does funnel down to that. I promise I haven't left that as a
No, no,
concept.
that's fine.
Uh,
It's all universal anyway, because anything we do in solo guitar, we're taking inspiration from, I mean, nature
right,
versus cats, big band
and you
work.
pointed out that like other people with their instruments are looking to, um, what is it exactly that you said? Like the
Play
way
it as a
everybody,
solo instrument,
yeah, like that's a thing, and like
except maybe
yeah,
triangle players, but yeah. Like
yeah,
the idea
could
of
do it.
playing your instrument as a solo instrument is, I guess, more common amongst piano players and percussionists or drummers,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and then like, but like yeah, what makes it go a little bit further all the time, and that was where I kind of was like, well, okay, so no, music in the way that it exists for humans is not functional. It's something that sort of comes out of what we all are personality wise, neurochemically and physically.
Right.
The buzzword there is probably emergent, right? It's like something that, yeah, but that's,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the concept of emergence doesn't need to be that like weighted. It's just sort of an observatory. It's like an observational thing where it's like when all of the things are there together, it's something that just kind of exists there. But then as far as like what is our intelligence, right? It's music. It's something we observe after the fact right? After the human intelligence already kind of comes through. So whether you're improvising, whether you're composing it, any of that, right? And the cultural phenomenon of it is like something completely different. But that's where the what we get to do and what we think about adding and all of that stuff is like how we learn getting into all of that stuff. Is that now I'm just kind of going off the rails, so I don't want to stay on this 'cause I don't really know where I'm going with it. But the
But
idea
I
that
like where this conversation is going though, because we are talking about certain things that are not really spoken about, like coming back to that whole journey that I was talking about, the free jazz thing, for instance. Free
yeah,
jazz is something that's pretty much laughed at, by a lot of people. But you and I
uh-huh,
both know that the ones who do understand that language of free jazz, you
yes.
need a really strong and keen ear to really understand what they're trying to do. And of course, there are way too many people who are really complete and utter BS about it. Like,
And you
no
need
argument.
a certain amount of experience
Yeah,
of,
and
with
open
like
mind,
the
man. Like,
parameter, right? Yes, with the
take a guy like
parameter.
Cecil Taylor. He's the guy, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Cecil Taylor, if you Maybe, should we play a video?
Um, I'll leave that up to you on there.
Let me
I
just play
was,
a little part of one of Cecil Taylor's piano, like solo piano improvs, right?
sure, sure,
And
sure.
mind you,
Yeah,
this is full on free jazz. Okay? Just give
yeah,
me a second. I'm just gonna pull that up.
yeah. You can just share the audio too. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't.
Now, for people watching this, I'm sorry if you hate this, but I would really encourage you to listen with keen ears, observe his hands, listen to the whatever is being played, whether you call it music or not, is a different like conversation altogether. But just listen to what he's doing, and I can assure you there is a certain sense of rhythm, there is a certain sense of harmonic movement, there is a certain sense of melodic movement. But you have to
I'm
be open-minded. This is
I'm
for the
gonna ask
viewer.
everybody to listen to yet another thing. If nothing, just for a moment, take in the dynamics.
Yeah, because you're gonna see a lot of that over here. You're gonna see
Just listen to how
massive.
big and small
Yeah,
it gets, how quiet and loud it gets, the
yeah,
pressure on the keys, every just
exactly.
observe.
Let's hear it.
Those contrasts.
Now, I'm just gonna pause it for a
Yeah.
sec. Now that they're gonna show his hands, okay, what I want people watching this to clearly listen to is the amount of control he has, not just on his hands, but on the sustain pedal. You know, the two hands are very much harmonizing each other.
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of incredibly like well learned vocabulary that just sort of
Exactly. And just look at the way his
there.
hands are moving. Like, this is not BS. You can tell that this is a guy who can play, man. He can
Yeah, yeah,
literally
yeah, yeah.
play. Right. I'm gonna pause this here. Right.
I'm the kind of person, and it's on my stuff. I'm sure I've posted these things where I do classical etudes and classical pieces on the electric guitar.
Right.
Because again, it's like that personal growth sort of thing
I
of
get
like, okay, I like hearing multiple voices at the same time. That's a very classical thing. I like practicing my Bach when I'm sitting down and not really working on anything. And then like, okay, what does that sound like? Can I balance the voices on my guitars, right? Part of the reason I got Guthrie Govan's old Sir pickups put into one of my guitars was because I wanted that like absolute clarity so that I could do
And you
those
realize
things.
it's his hands.
Well, no, but that's what I wanted. That
Right.
is very much right. I wanted that such sensitivity because you play around with it in the right way, and oh, I can play fugues now on an electric guitar, and it all just comes right out, and it sounds gorgeous because who's playing a fugue on an electric guitar,
Ted
right?
Green.
Because I've seen. Sorry.
Ted Green.
Oh, this is true. Yes. Yeah.
Ted
Yeah.
Green
Yeah.
is one of my biggest influences ever, man. Like,
Yeah.
Ted Green, I think, is the main reason why I mostly play solo guitar on an electric.
Nice. Yeah, because it's just what a gorgeous sound overall, and it's
Yeah.
still got what the old that portable, like you don't have to bring your piano with you, you know, and you're still getting all the voices, and there's more t timbral control, right? And of course,
I also feel there's more appeal to it, as in the sense like, um, you know how piano players don't like guitar players, and guitar
well,
players who are into harmony don't like piano players.
yeah.
But the guitar players
I
who are
mean, that's
not
not a
into
hard
harmony
fast
love piano
rule,
players.
but it's a good, yeah, that's a classic sort of,
It's a
yeah.
feud, but I can't I am guilty of listening to piano players more and stealing ideas from
Same.
them.
Oh,
It,
yeah, but like one of my personally biggest influences on like the way that I construct harmony when I'm improvising is Bill Evans.
same. And for me, it's Keith Jarrett.
Yeah, and totally like it makes they're incredible. They're just like yeah,
Yeah,
and
because they
that's
have the liberty, they really have the liberty to. I mean, I'm not saying that it's an easier instrument to play, but I am saying that uh, there is a lot more range in that instrument. And by nature, the instrument itself, it's like if you're actually playing a piano, by nature, you also become a fairly good percussionist because you really need good rhythm on your hands. Like your fingers really need to like have good rhythm and
I
good
would just call that
coordination
the
between your hands.
the coordination of the lines though,
Yeah,
because like I think of it
especially
the same
within
way on
Latin music.
yeah, but I think of it the same way on guitar, honestly, because like there was a good solid year, 2 years or something where I just was really hammering out like polyrhythms between voices on the guitar. And no, I don't constantly use that, but it's nice to have that in my back pocket, to like play fives over
It's like a
fours
nice
and
little chop
sevens
to
over
have up your
threes
sleeve,
and
sort of.
stuff. Yeah, and like different lines on the guitar. And like no, I'm not demonstrating any of that right now. I don't have anything in mind, but like, yeah, and yeah,
I mean, it would sound so cool on an eight string, but I'm still trying to get over it. But I've seen you mostly play either a classical guitar or a Strat at
very
college, and then
cheap
I see you with an
Amazon.
eight string. That too, is this one of those Legator guitars or something?
No, it's not that. I'm not actually gonna say the brand. Um um just in case of whatever. But no, I just
Yeah,
got
you
it
can
on
say the
on
brand. It's not
Amazon.
going to create any kind of infringement. I
Okay,
mean,
it's
look here.
well, it came from China and things called Bat King, and this
Yo,
is not a
I've
review.
actually heard that name, man. Like there are these Bat King travel guitars and ukuleles that you
Yes,
get on Amazon India.
yeah, and I don't know what they're. I hope they didn't. Again, I am not in any way insinuating that this has happened or anything like that. I hope that the design is not like stolen or whatever, and this is not an official review. It's not the most well-crafted instrument I have ever played.
I
Just to
mean,
put it
most of
away.
these are, I am guessing, CNCs, so you're not
It
gonna get
was
that.
very affordable, and I do my thing where I upgrade guitar bones that I get anyways. Swap out pickups and add kill switches and all that fun stuff. Maybe put a locking. Uh, the words are escaping me now. You know what I'm
Locking
talking
nut.
about. Floating bridge locking with like locking
Right, right.
stuff.
We're locking nut.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of that. I mean, one of
Guess
these
what
days
this
that's gonna
guitar
be a big
is?
expensive one. But,
Guess what this
what?
one is? You've heard of this?
What FGN? Yeah, because it's a Japanese brand, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Fujigen. It's
Yes.
the Fujigen factory. They're
Yeah,
the
they
ones
make
that.
awesome
Yeah,
guitars. I'm
now
always
here I
surprised.
can't take names, I endorse them. I will
Yeah,
take
yeah.
their names, but then they have been making guitars for all like many well-known brands since the 1960s, and they
Yes.
still make guitars for one of the biggest brands that everybody knows about and many people around the world use, but I won't mention that name.
Sure. Yeah. Like the I don't know. I've always liked an
Have you
FGM
played
guitar.
these though? Because in Japan, you're gonna get the thing is in India, obviously, like these are imports, right? And since I'm endorsed with them, I get this. Like this particular piece was the last piece that was left in India. I bought it. Then this particular one, that's the hollow body. It took me, I think I had to wait for a year and a month to get it delivered to me. But I know that the Japanese people keep the best guitars that they make in Japan. They make it a point to not let it go out.
I mean, I don't know how all of that.
Can you hear me?
Specifically, my steel string acoustic guitar, the one that I've purchased here, is a Japanese brand made in Japan. It's awesome, and it was like
They're just so good.
half the price of like
That's
other big name brands that have wonderful guitars. And yeah,
that's
I just
like I'll show you something. You and I were both played Sirs in the past, right? We both know that Sirs in today's time they start from around $4,000,
yeah,
right?
I love a Sir. Oh,
Look at the grain at the back of this neck. I don't know if you can see it. Ah, there. Can you see the grains?
yes,
It's quarter sawn maple. And
yeah.
this is a one piece neck fretboard. The fretboard and neck are the same piece of wood. But
Oh, that's nice.
this, yeah, but this
I
in
like.
India costs 1,65,000 or 67,000 rupees. And that is after tariffs because like India pays a lot of import duty.
Yeah.
Right. So that is after that. After that, it's 1,67,000, which is like I don't know, like what $1,000 is essentially around like 89,000 rupees. So
Oh, so
yeah,
it's not bad.
it's
Yeah.
well under $2,500.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And yeah, and there's a
Yeah, you're looking at
Goto
the super
510
strat
bridge.
stuff. Yeah.
It's a Goto 510 bridge, solid switches, absolutely solid switches. And go to vintage style locking tuners.
I like those Gotos. They're nice.
Yeah,
They're
man.
just they're comfortable. Yeah. I
That's
have
what.
that on my like my Worth guitar, which is a small brand back in my hometown. I ordered and I got to design it. I put the Sir pickups in that one. It's an
Which one is
awesome.
it?
It's in the case. It's the my T style guitar.
Oh, is it the one with two humbuckers?
Yeah, yeah.
You had that in Boston, right? It was a
No,
little lighter
I
color.
also got that one when I after I moved here. Like I asked for it to be built before I left for Japan, and then I had it
But
shipped to me
you
here.
had a T style in Boston as well, right?
No, this was my first T style. Never had one. Uh,
I think there's a glitch in the Matrix, man.
yeah. Well, we should get back to, we should get
We
to our
should get
last
back. Yeah,
point.
we should get back on the
Yeah,
point
this went way off the
because
rails
in
there. But what each of
exactly
us
20
got out of
minutes, I have a
Berkeley.
lesson.
Ah, yes. What we each got out of Berkeley and how that shaped our playing styles. I'll just make mine really quick. Continuing on with like the teaching route and enjoying that and playing more classical and more fusion and still adding more styles, as many as I possibly can, and doing more recording and stuff. Like, oh, and I got to take a stage performance class at Berkeley. And it was a
The
real,
one with that James Taylor's brother, what's his name?
yeah, with Livingston Taylor.
Livingston.
And I should have failed that class. I don't know. I didn't understand the goal until the end, very near the end. Like it was only a semester long, and um, and it completely changed everything. Though it was like, oh right, and then of course reading Pinker later reinforced this, which is in the end, this is performance art.
Right.
and all of the things that we can add to it, right? You know, it's going to start with your presence.
Right.
And then but then when it comes down to what you do on the instrument, I love, and this is just my playing style, I love whatever I put onto it, I want it to be as genuine as possible. And I want it to be as entertaining as possible.
Like
And I want
when
to
you
be
say
prepared.
genuine, like are you talking about like stylistically authentic or like you're saying authentic to yourself?
I'm saying first authentic to myself.
Right.
What I am capable of doing, because I talked about, you know, getting all the different techniques and like things to listen to and watch out for, right? Because the more capable you are with that, the more sensitive your music becomes, right? The and um, so first to myself, and then to the situation, right? That's that pinker part is like, okay, I'm gonna go play solo guitar for a dinner party, and it's Italian themed. That's what the food is, or whatever. I'm playing Renaissance and after Italian uh, repertoire for that, right? That's classical music, and I'm gonna do that. I might throw in a couple of pop songs from the Italian, uh, you know,
Right.
repertoire, and that's gonna be that. You know, if I'm doing a solo guitar thing and it's just brunch and people want easy jazz, like that's what I'm gonna be doing. And to have the chops for that and be able to do that, that's really what I enjoy doing. But then like somebody wants to learn how to do solo guitar and I want to help them get to that, knowing what's going to help them get there too and how to share that with them. So like, but in all of those situations, you I say you, but like me or whoever it is that's doing it, making it something worth experiencing
Right.
is, yeah, where like in at the end of Berklee, that's where it really started to hit me that it's like, oh, if I want to do this and I have even a, you know, an ounce of hope making it really work beyond just for myself, that's where I'm going to get those ideas. What do I need to be ready for that? You know, and like that quote from Livingston that really hit me, right? It's sad to be ready and not be called. It's a tragedy to be called and not be ready. And you know, in the world of solo guitar, I just feel
The
like that.
latter has happened to me quite a lot.
And I think it just hits home. It's like, yeah, if in,
Yeah,
you know, and that's just me specifically when working on solo guitar
I
stuff.
get it.
It's not even the whole guitar. It's just, but if I'm gonna practice something that's right now,
I get what you mean. My journey was slightly different. Like we have like around 7 minutes left, so I'll also make it sort of quick, and then we'll wrap up this particular podcast for today. So mine was, like I already told you a little bit about how things started. Now, in terms of teaching, at least I was teaching before I went to Berkeley, but these are like very simple beginner stuff. I don't think I was enjoying teaching per se back then, but it was like cute little pocket money sort of thing. I think the teaching stuff part I started enjoying more as I kept learning at Berkeley, because here, like I was telling you, that I've always been fascinated with the idea of picking up my instrument and playing something without preparing something ahead of time.
yeah.
And it doesn't matter to me as to whether I am impressing a bunch of other guitar players or not. I've just never cared enough about that. And I think that's why I have been happier than most other guitar players.
Maybe in many moments.
Probably because I just never
Oh, absolutely.
cared. I just
Yeah.
didn't care. But whatever. But in that journey, I think Berkeley played a massive role over there, because I have learned from so many different kinds of musicians over there. Like not just the teachers, but also people I've played with, like live friends, um, also just random people. Because I remember in Boston, I had met random people at random parties, like who never studied music, but like they were still pretty talented and like, you still used to jam out. Like I remember jamming with a rapper once, and this guy was really freestyling. And I found that really interesting. I'm like, okay, this guy is like really going for it, and he's got really, really, really freaking tight ass rhythm, man. So like so I took like bits and pieces from everybody, bits and pieces from Tim Miller, from Tomo Fujita, David Fizenski, David Newsom. Then I had learned from Joe Stump for a bit as well. I used
Oh
to
yeah,
watch
good choice.
videos of Mick Goodrick. I never learned from him, but I used to watch videos of him. My one of my roommates was learning from John Damien. So John Damien is also into abstract art. So I had taken some inspiration from those kind of things also, right?
Yeah.
And by the time I graduated, I think I was still not mentally as mature as I needed to be to get into improvised music, but I still had that flair. And then through real life, when I understood that improvised music doesn't really get you a lot of money unless you're Keith Jarrett, who had a really, really good manager along with being incredibly talented, you know,
Again, it's performance art, right?
which
Yeah,
I'm
make
not,
it.
unfortunately. Plus, I'm a guitar player, people like piano more anyway, unfortunately.
No,
But
people love the guitar.
classical guitars they like, not an electric guitar playing solo guitar. you know
Yeah.
but anyway, like take Ted Green for example. Like from that logic, Ted Green should have been like really, really famous, but unfortunately Ted Green is a name that very few people actually know of, and only people who seriously get into solo guitar eventually stumble upon him
Mm.
and his
Yeah,
list.
that's
It's not mainstream stuff, neither is Lenny Brew mainstream stuff,
I was thinking about, yeah.
right? Like
I was
Lenny,
thinking about that
Lenny
earlier,
is
and I
so
couldn't put a name.
he
Yeah.
should have been a lot more famous, right? You
Yeah.
know,
Oh yeah.
and like today's most famous improvisers, like Julian Lage or let's say Kurt Rosenwinkel, all of these guys have looked into these two names as well,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
especially
Oh,
Julian Lage. Right? And Julian Lage himself also plays a lot of free jazz and free form improvisation. And then we got guys like Bill Frisell, who's another one of my like influences.
mm.
But anyway, I
Yeah.
digressed a little. You were talking about how Berkeley, like what role Berkeley played in that. So
Yeah.
that, like, I think I talked about what Berkeley played, and then the rest of it was really more of a real world kind of thing. Like in the real world, like I moved back to India in 2019, right?
Mm.
So over here, you don't have that much of a scope for this kind of freeform improvisation at all, right?
Yeah.
So here, for the most part, I have played pop gig. I played a lot of jazz gigs too here. But if you want to make money at the end of the day, you got to play the pop gigs. The same way in America, you play wedding gigs here as well. Like private gigs pay a lot more, and especially if you're playing for Bollywood artists, which I have not done much of. I've maybe played two gigs.
Yeah.
Those artists pay quite a lot.
Yeah. And
But
then what would you say? I'm kind of curious, just because we're really running out of time. But what about for the? Because again, I'm really into the whole education thing. What about for the budding guitarist, the slightly more intermediate, approaching a
I
lot of
think
this
they need
stuff
to
slowly?
really stop watching reels and learn triads, spread triads,
That's a
and
very
at
good
least the five basic types of seventh chords
point
first.
of advice, sure.
You know,
And don't let it be don't let it be too much of a technical exercise.
that's what,
I
like, I feel people, I like, at least my experience with a lot of
That's
students have been
like
that
that.
they just don't experiment enough.
That's a yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like, and they
Again,
don't observe enough. It's like they're waiting for you to tell them what to do. And like, bro, like, do something and show me what you can do.
but
That's what I'm
this
expecting.
is where I have used so much of that Pinker stuff in how I teach anything at this point. Oh, here's something really quite fundamental to the style to this. I can see that you have no idea why it is fundamental yet. So here, let me make something for you.
Right.
and then you get the freedom to do something else with it. But they need those constraints. But the
Yeah,
constraints, learning to make the constraints, also makes you better as a player. I feel.
for sure.
I feel like learning to make the constraints for people who want to get more out of it. And I hope that doesn't turn away anybody from this podcast who's kind of going, guitar nerds.
I mean, that's
And
okay. Like that way, we'll just filter out the good viewers from the bad viewers. Sorry, sorry, I didn't mean it.
ah, no, everyone, all
And
is
I'm
welcome.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We need
We
more
love all of you,
educational
no
type
matter
thing
how
around
good
that.
or bad you are.
For now,
But
it's social catching
on
up.
this note, we have less than a minute left, so we're gonna
Yeah.
conclude this podcast here. Thank you everyone for watching. We are gonna be back with another one soon. We are trying to do this every Sunday, upload one every Sunday. So make sure to subscribe to both of us and hit like, hit share, and we'll both see you soon-ish. Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Thanks, Raj.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you, man.